Planet Coaster 2's on a roll, Update 4's here, hot on the heels of Update 3, which released only last month. While Update 4 isn't as packed as the last drop, there's still some standout additions you won't want to miss. Biggest change, we've now got restaurants. Restaurants are a new way to cater to guests' hunger needs. Like with the counters, they'll grab food at a station, and you can set this so only restaurant guests use the tables. Been busy during the early access period working on some restaurant blueprints, which we'll get to later in the video, but first, everything else that's of note with this update. Another fun new feature, recolorable water for pools. This is now in the pool options tab, and you can set the strength with a sliding scale. I think I can guess what colour some people will be going for initially. I have checked, and colouring the natural bodies of water isn't included in this update, so if you've been looking for that, guess we have to wait and see if that's implemented at a later date. I did notice that the water effects like the fountain jets are now recolorable too. Not sure when that option became available, but I know it wasn't there at launch. For coaster enthusiasts, stock car variations are now available for the Manic Mouse and the inverted flying coasters, and the pieces from these coasters are now available as scenery to use elsewhere in your park. We are starting to see a decent selection of coaster attachments popping up in the scenery tab now. Something else new with the coasters, in the settings tab under game options, you can now toggle to enable coaster support on paths or not. Can confirm, guests will avoid the supports on the path, they won't just walk straight through them. Update 4 also sees the return of the Scissor Flat Ride, firm favourite from the original game, and the stats aren't too bad with this one, so a good addition. For the Tycoon players, management and economy has had a few tweaks too. Default prices in the game now vary depending on the difficulty setting you've got your game set to, so I imagine my coasters only run that I tried after Update 3, that would definitely be more difficult now. Also a handy addition, the game will now make it much more clear when a custom price you've set is too expensive, and that applies for rides, park entrances, pools and priority passes. For the builders, I know some players weren't happy that some of the original Western animatronics were missing from Update 3. I believe that had something to do with the age rating approval, and that takes time to be reviewed. Well, good news is, a month later, and looks like the additional pieces did get approved, so you can now enjoy these extra animatronics and scenery pieces. Another plus for the builders, as well as the new restaurants, all Career Mode Act 2 maps are now playable as sandbox parks. Onto the bug fixes. With Update 4, there's once again a big list of general game fixes and tweaks, so I'm not going to go through all of them, but a few of the key ones to note. Muted audio on your billboards will now stay muted. This was a problem after Update 3, where loading into your park, everything you'd muted previously reverted to playing. That's fixed now. And the same for billboards activated by the sequencers. If you set that to muted, it'll stay muted. Another bug fix that was hecking me personally, 5-star prestige rides. If you create custom coasters with a high enough prestige, they're supposed to achieve classic status at the end of their popularity cycle, but before this update they were shown as old in the ride tab. That has been fixed, so now they'll be displaying their true classic status. Also fixes for some of the flat rides, so Sunflare has been slowed down, so it doesn't look like your guests are training for a space flight anymore. And a great fix for the min-max perfectionist, Tiny Eye now fully loads all seats as intended. Now, an interesting fix to do with the swimming pools, apparently guests that climb out of pools onto paths not connected to a park exit, they'll no longer become stuck. So with that fix, I did wonder if this fixed my problem with the concrete swim team. So I had a look, and unfortunately, even after Update 4, this is still a thing. Sometimes guests exit in a pool, well, they won't animate properly and become embedded in the concrete. They'll remain in this position swimming in the concrete, which leaves the rest of their party idling around your park until you set them free, which is not ideal. Anyway, onto a plus, huge staffing improvements. Employees will no longer look for break rooms when you've turned off the break setting in the sandbox mode. So finally, I can stop shouting at my employees wandering off from their station when I've told them that they're not allowed any breaks. Oh yeah, and staff notifications will no longer pop up when staff needs have been turned off too. So a blessing, that one for me. Maybe I'll even turn notifications back on with this change. Anyway, that's everything I've found of note. Big thank you to Frontier for providing me early access to the update. I've been working on some restaurant blueprints during this time, so let's take a quick look at those. 10 new blueprints to show. First 3 are updated versions of my Main Street restaurants. Start with Main Street Meats. Got rid of the billboards on the roof for this one. I think it wasn't looking great, even though it was true to life with the billboards there. It just didn't look that fantastic for the blueprint, so got rid of the billboards on there. And on the inside now got a restaurant counter in the corner. Still got both the burger and hot dog counters, and made room for the booth seating, which looks much better. Next is Main Street Sushi Restaurant. No change on the outside here, it's all on the inside. Additional restaurant counter and made room for the booth seating as well. Just gives a cleaner feel on the inside of the building here. Next is Whole Food Harvest. No change on the outside. What we have got though, did promise I'd get around to this. Now got an internal restaurant as well. There is still a vegan food counter on the external, but obviously on the inside this is all now fully fitted out with a restaurant. Onto the new stuff. Habanero. This is a revamp of a restaurant I created in Planet Coaster 1. I'll throw a picture up here of that one. Whilst we don't have a Mexilente in Planet Coaster 2 yet, I kept with the style, so got a burrito store and a drinks counter on the outside. Much fiddling with the pathing, I've been able to put some seating on the upstairs, so there's an outdoor dining option without increasing the building footprint too much. On the inside, a bit of a rustic feel in here. Used some of the Western pieces and the Viking pieces to give it a traditional Mexican restaurant feel. Managed to squeeze a toilet in the corner, and I do love the windows in here. It's all custom, many pieces unfortunately, but I like the light that it gives off just around the booth seating. Next, I've had a stab at doing a modern contemporary restaurant. Two styles for this, so you've got a big one and a little one. Big one has additional outdoor seating, and this all sits under this overhanging balcony. No seating up here, just the planter, adds a bit of biodiversity and a splash of colour. Head on inside, getting resort feels with this big open space. Huge skylight to let in the light. Also used the spotlights to create some track lighting in the ceiling. Fit the counter under the stairs, also got a set of toilets in here. And yeah, this is split over 2 levels, so you've got the downstairs seating, but also squeezed in some stairs that take you up to a balcony seating area as well. And this helps balance the height of the space in here. It would feel a bit too boxy if I didn't have the upstairs seating level. Yeah, pretty happy with how this turned out. Certainly fits the brief I set myself to make something modern and contemporary. Anyway, that's the big building. I thought it would be useful to add a smaller blueprint as well. So same style, but this is just a small footprint building. Bit more open, and the counter fits in perfectly in here. So fewer tables, but more open and a smaller footprint. Next, I've had a go at a tropical restaurant. I haven't done much with the tropical theming in the game, so decided I wanted to give it a go, see what I could come up with for this. This is a restaurant, but it's an outdoor courtyard restaurant because I found that with the tropical pieces, particularly the roofing for the thatch, it's better to keep this open and have it as a courtyard than to enclose the whole thing with the thatch roofing. Bit too oppressive if you close it all in. So yeah, it's outdoor seating in a courtyard style, and I think it works really well. I'm glad I gave this a go. Had fun playing with the, well, more colourful pieces, I guess you can say, after building the contemporary restaurant, which is all concrete and blue. Similar to the tropical restaurant, this is a mythology themed courtyard restaurant. Like with the tropical pieces, I find that the mythology pieces works much better if you keep it to small buildings. So a ruined temple building to cover up the restaurant counter, and then we have courtyard seating again. And size wise, this is much better to leave it open like this than covering the whole thing. Now, something special with this build, the pathing for the courtyard. This is a pattern that I've used in loads of builds that I've used in Planet Zoo, and that involved a lot of fiddling with art shapes to cover the pathing. However, Planet Coaster, if you use a swirly path, there's no curve between using different colours, and I was able to recreate this pattern design as an actual path, and when I discovered I could do this, I could have cried. Loved this design when I created it in Planet Zoo, and it's so nice to see it evolve into Planet Coaster 2. Next is an aquatic themed restaurant, and this is all internal, called this Deep Sea Diner. So if we make our way through the tube to get to the inside, set this up so it feels a bit like a submarine under the sea, and big windows here showing you some of the sea, deep sea creatures and stuff. Very fun to set this up. Anyway, restaurant counter at the front, and then this takes you through to the dining area. And yeah, singing eels are stealing the show here. Pretty loud, but I guess that's part of the dining experience when you're dining under the sea. Oh, they're having a break. Don't worry, they will start up again very soon. Yep, there we go. Can't have the diners sitting here in silence. Anyway, 3 windows in here showing the aquatic scenes, and love how I've managed to get the booth seating right in the middle. Looks like it's on a platform. That is intentional. A couple of hatches in the ceiling as well to let some light in. Otherwise it would be very dark in here. I've got some strategic spotlights hidden about as well, just to bring in some light. Last restaurant blueprint I've worked on is a Viking longhouse. Now, I wasn't sure I wanted to go back and do more Viking stuff. Did a bunch of Viking stuff for my Project Viking build and kind of sick of doing Viking stuff right now, but was excited to try out a longhouse restaurant. Had a couple of ideas of what I wanted to do in here. The inside is jam-packed with the Viking theming. 2 sets of big long tables in the middle. Had to use the mythology benches for this. The other benches don't seem to work so well for the natural wood feeling that I wanted to get with these. Restaurant counter sat at the end, right in the middle there. And this is why I was excited to build this. That view, just the long straight down, and all the theming works so well. Even got some chandeliers using the western brackets there. Very useful piece that. And a big focal point at the open fire. Used an animatronic piece here to make this look like it's roasting meat on the open fire. Just a fun little feature for the build. So yeah, glad I delved back into the Viking stuff to create this restaurant. And that's all the restaurant blueprints I've created for this Update 4 release. They will all go up on the workshop as soon as I have access to that. You don't have access to the blueprints when you're working in early access. So as soon as I get a chance, I'll put those up and link the codes in the description below. But yeah, I do hope you like what I've come up with. Let me know in the comments. And as always, thanks so much for watching. I'll catch you in the next video.